Nordics SaaS HubSpot User Group. Today we're gonna deep dive into how to master the new HubSpot Lead Scoring functionalities. So HubSpot recently came out with their new lead scoring, and we're gonna deep dive into it today. So today there will be a lot of slides, there will be a demo, and there will be different use cases. So we will encourage every one of you to put your questions directly into the Q&A, and we will make sure to answer some of those questions while we're at it with the demo and the presentation. So I'm the co-founder and commercial lead here at Helion. I have approximately 8 years of experience with HubSpot and inbound strategy for B2B companies, and I'm the hub leader of this HubSpot user group. Today, I asked Lars, who is my colleague, but also the leader of our other HubSpot user group, to come and join us because we have been playing around with this new lead scoring setup together. So Lars, I will just hand it over to you now.
Yes, thanks a lot, Lotte. And we're really looking forward to this session because it is a very interesting subject, at least in our eyes. So let's just jump into it.
Exactly. So if we look at historically how we have been working with the lead score property in HubSpot, it actually have gone from being a lead score property to actually now being a lead score app. So if we dive a bit into the old property, it was kind of hard to work with. First of all, it was very great hidden in HubSpot. You needed to go to the backend, you needed to open your properties, and you needed to find the HubSpot score. Then you were, of course, able to put in both positive and negative criteria. But that was basically it. And a lot of the scoring possibilities were directly on engagement. And what we are very excited about with the new setup is we can score across objects, but we can also score across both fits, like a company fit, a contact fit, but we can also score on engagement, both on a contact and a company level. So usually when you were working with this score property, you had to build a lot of different matrices outside of HubSpot to really stay on top of how you have built your score, how your contacts will gain the points, and also, of course, how or when at least the contacts will gain negative points if you have set a negative score as well. And it usually looked something like this. So you have built it out in different spreadsheets just to have an understanding of how to actually utilize this lead scoring in HubSpot. But this has become way easier to work with, and also you don't have to build as many workarounds as you used to with calculated properties, different scoring properties on different objects. Now everything comes out of the box, which we are very excited about diving into today. So again, if we look at the old scoring, this was actually, when we talked about it, it was filled with a lot of disappointments, right? So you really had this hope that if you enable lead scoring in HubSpot, it would really help you to get a lot of great fit leads, or at least marketing qualified leads that would in time turn into sales qualified leads. But with the old setup, there was also a lot of disappointments, at least when we discussed it and made this presentation, because in a lot of use cases, you will end up having an MQL overload, because you will be able to gain a lot of points on specific engagements. So you didn't have the possibility to set a threshold of how many points email engagement could give, for example. And this you will actually be able to do in the new scoring, which we will demo just in a while. Also, there was a lot of mismatch between marketing and sales, because the old scoring in HubSpot was built so much on the engagement, which also led to sort of a transparency gap. Also, when were sales, when should they be able to work? Did they actually understand what the scoring was about? and why was the scoring not built on such things as the ICP, and especially on a company level, since when you build out your ICP, it's usually based on a company fit and not on contact engagement. So this was really like the big challenge with the old scoring property, and this was also why we have done a lot of workarounds with building scoring properties across objects, but also building scoring properties where we then had to do calculated properties to make sure that we both had a company fit and an engagement fit. But still, we were very challenged about the whole threshold thing. So yeah, I will hand it over to Lars to demo a bit more how the new setup actually looks like. So you can see how you can now enable the new lead scoring to really gain value from it. Because to be honest, we have never been so excited about this setup. We have always been building workarounds because this old lead scoring in HubSpot didn't really match the criteria for a software as a service business, where we need to think across contact engagement, but we really need to think about the company fit as well.
Very, very true. And I think I'll start showing a demo in a minute or so. But I think it's important to just go back to what Lotte initially said about the old score property. Is basically was hidden, and because it's hidden, it will often be ignored as well, because we will probably build it and then we'll forget about it. And that we have seen in really, really many situations. It's also important to say that even though the lead score now is coming in a new app, the old ones are still there. You can still work on score properties if you use it for other things. But if you're looking for new lead scoring framework model, we would definitely recommend that you look into the new model. So let's try to dive in. If you go into the new lead score app, and I'll do in a few seconds, this is what you will see the first time you go in. You will see that HubSpot is now not only having one score model, they try to promote 4 different ways to go. First of all, contact engagement score, which you could say is the old original lead scoring, where we look at how are people opening your emails? Are they looking at pages on your website? Are they clicking or engaging in ads, etc., etc.? Are they looking at the price page on your SaaS page? Things like that is very, very important for an engagement score on the contact. But now we also have a contact fit score that goes in and look on properties inside your HubSpot CRM that has something to do with fit on the contact. Is it the right title, is the right department, things like that can be scored as well. But now we also have a promote of scoring on the company base, company engagement and company fit. But we'll go into details on these when we look a little closer into the platform. And with a little luck, I should be there right now. And if you're in a HubSpot portal, on daily basis, you will see on the marketing side this new lead score, still in beta, but will soon be released as the official new lead scoring product. So let's go into that. And if we had a lot of time today, I would love to go in here as well on the buyer intent part, because these are kind of well connected, but that will be for some other good time. So if you look into the lead score, you would normally see this, as you just saw, we have the choice of 4 different scoring models: engagement and fit, and for company engagement and fit. So let's, for easiness, stay on the content engagement score here and have a look at that. So basically, I just click create, and now I end at this screen. And now we are coming to the first hooray moment, and that is the score limit you see up here. You see I can actually make a limit that goes for, in this case, 100, 200, up to 500. As far as I remember at the moment, on a pro license, you can only have 100, but on an enterprise license, you have the ability to go up in scoring. Let's dive into that a little later if you have a time. The important thing here is I can say this engagement score can only score at tops 100 points. So we have this limitation, which is really, really crucial for doing efficient lead scoring. Now you can see I can start building groups. And what is an event group? Well, that's for me to choose, but I would recommend that you go back and look into the sheets Lotte showed and saying, okay, I probably need a score for ads. Let's say that's the one I want to look at. And then I can start to build up my ad events. And then I can make another event group down here for form engagements. Then I can make another one for page views. I think you get the picture. That is where the sheet can actually still be good. But if we look into the ads here, you can see on the right side, now I can start dividing the numbers I had, the score limit I had the 100. And now I can say, well, yes, but based on our experience, ads can at max be set to 20. They can't give any more. Something else needs to be involved in this engagement. And then I can start, sorry?
No, I was just about to say that I think this is one of the best new things that HubSpot had added, right? Because what we have seen from a lot of our customers historically, if they have built like a big email program with a lot of generic lead nurture and progressive lead nurture, sometimes we would see that the points just got out of hand if we were scoring based on email engagement, for example. So I think it's very, very business critical that we can now set a threshold on how much points can you actually gain from engaging with emails or with ads, to make sure that if we score on a contact engagement level, we can still build a score where you need to gain points from all the different attributes or groups, instead of gaining all your points on just one group. So I think it's very important going forward with, if you actually want to utilize the scoring from the purpose of handing over leads directly, for example.
Yeah, and I fully agree. And as you can see, you can make it very, very granular. So you can look at different interactions. You can maybe score on specific networks, on specific ads, on specific campaigns. So there are a lot of options to do this granularly. So let's say that was my ad group. After extensive research, I found out these were the perfect numbers for my ads. Then one other thing that is worth noting, I guess is the word, is the decay score. And what is the decay score? Well, it is basically an attempt to say that event happening today is not as valuable in 7 days, or in 14 days, or in 30 days. I think you get the picture. So I can set up here that I want to reduce the value, let's say by 40% within a month, just to say, okay, then the effect is basically more or less disappeared. And then the scoring model will take that into account.
Yeah, so again, way more valuable to decay the points over time instead of figuring out how to put in a negative score. So again, much more valuable in terms of scoring, that we can now decay all points at groups, engagement groups over time, instead of just setting a negative score or someone opting out or not visiting the website within 30 days, which is very hard to score on with cookies and all the stuff. So I think this is again very valuable. Also that you can decay specifically on different groups, so it doesn't have to be overall, but you can do it by group again.
Yeah, I think that's really, really crucial, that we can decide that on the basis of the event group, making it ads, making it forms in this instance, making it documents you may have available for leads in the sales process. All that you can divide into different groups, and therefore also making different decays, as you can see here. You can set it quite dramatically and say, okay, that form has no value in 3 months' time, and I can set this to be 39 or whatever is the right fit. I think you get the picture. So it is at least much easier now to take that sheet you probably have prepared and now have a direct version of it also in HubSpot. I really love this interface in that aspect. Okay, now we have finished this group of different settings. Now we can also look at who should we actually score on, and I think that's also one thing that is really, really neat in the new model, that we can directly go to say, I only want to, let's say, score people who have approached our demo page. Could be an example. So we can actually limit the interaction to only be a group of your leads, of your contacts, of your customers, people on a service contract, whatever it is. You have that ability, so we can really focus scores on the different situations.
Yeah. And it also gives a lot of different use cases, right? Because normally, and we will also go through other use cases today, but normally lead scoring is used to figure out what is the best lead for us, who should we work first in sales. But now when we have the possibility to score on specific lists or specific properties, we can also do, for example, like customer engagement. So if we have, as a software as a service company, integrated HubSpot with our SaaS software, we can also start scoring on our customers. Are they actually engaged in our product? Do we see that maybe there is signs of churn and whatever? So this tool becomes very valuable in a lot of different situations and a lot of different cases going forward.
Yeah, I fully agree. So in that aspect, it is our experience already now that this is a much better and more mature model to implement lead scores on. That's basically it. We have the score limit. We have the group limits of scoring for the different types of events we want to score on, as you can see here. And it will always tell you how many points you have remaining, so you can set up a good balance between those, even though you may want to start out manually without the sheet. Not that I recommend it, but you can definitely do it. One thing to note, please give this a proper name before you save it, because the property will also have that name that you engaged with here, as you can see. So this is a good place to stop a little and give it a proper name for that specific situation. So you kind of can divide your lead scores. On the Pro license, you can make up to 5 lead scores. On an enterprise license, you can make up to 50. And how you can use those, we'll come back to later.
Yeah,
Last thing I want to show, Lotte. Oh, sorry. Please.
No, I just wanted to, as you said, with the naming, if you do a contact engagement score, it would be a very great idea to call it contact engagement score. The same on company engagement score, contact fit score, company fit score, especially if you want to score across all your different scoring properties, which could be a very great use case going forward.
Exactly. Now, the last thing we need to show you is the score thresholds. Now we have seen we can build the score up. Now it is starting calculating. One of the things we have been missing on the property is to get an overview of what is happening. But with the score threshold, you can actually now start using this in reporting. So you can say that everything over 50 is fantastic. 50 is fantastic, and from 25 to 50 to 49, that is medium, that is yellow, and 0 to 45 is low quality, or whatever the meaning is in your situation. This is really cool for reporting, that we have an initial interface of doing this. It also means that if I am going here, over here, this is the type of reporting you can get out of the box, and then you can start working on custom reporting inside the custom report builder in HubSpot. But this is the initial report of those scoring factors I just showed you, and that you can see how many contacts, how many of those have we actually scored on, what is the average score, so you get a pretty good idea of the initial quality of your scoring model without having to do lists and compare those lists to see quality. Good. I think that was it for now. on the initial part of the lead scoring model.
Yeah, Lars, we have a question around, is it possible to reset the score to 0?
Yes, it is. You can now in workflows, you have the option to stop the score for some reason, depending on your situation, and say, let's start over.
Yeah, so for example, I guess if you have some sort of workflow for lost deals afterlife, we work on that with some of our clients. It would
Yeah.
make sense to reset the score to 0 if maybe the deal goes to lost and you want it to re-enter the funnel again in, I don't know, 6 months or whatever, if they start
Yes.
engaging with your marketing once again. So this would be a very great use case to reset the score and then enable these lost deals, for example, if they lost due to bad timing, to re-enter the funnel again.
Yeah, and because it's based on a generic workflow, you can exactly do that. For different scenarios, you can make that reset of the score for different reasons. So the answer is yes. But you have to go through the workflow. You can't do it directly in the model. Okay. One thing that can be difficult on doing lead scores, that is to build it. So I want to show you that you maybe noted that we had this one on the enterprise licenses, but I would really like to show you this capability that we have inside HubSpot. That is, HubSpot can, based on user data, build a scoring model. And I'll try to show you it here on the video part here. If I can get it up running, here we are. So here I've chosen it to be the HubSpot AI, the Breeze part of HubSpot that is rather new, and saying, please do this contact fit score for me as an initial model. So I can basically select next. And now what I have to do is select what should be the reason for making this score. And at the moment, you can only do it for for lifecycle changes. So in this example, I will have a start stage of lead, and I want everyone that has then ended in product qualified lead and sales qualified lead, please make a score for that. And that's basically it. Besides, you have to give it a time frame. In this instance, I say, look at all leads 120 days back at all time. And now the Breeze AI will start building and training a model for that. The interesting thing for me on this is that these models tend to be way more detailed than if I would do it by hand. They look at very detailed areas of your CRM. In this instance, you can see different countries are playing an effect. So that's just a lot of things you maybe would not consider that the AI model considers as significant impacts for the score. So I would definitely recommend having a look into this if you want enterprise, because it can be a lot of great inspiration for building lead scores in general.
Perfect. And so we have another question, but I think we're going to tap into it just in a while. But that if it's impossible to combine both the fit and the engagement score. So actually combine across all the different scoring mechanisms that you're building.
Yeah, we'll come back to this in a short while, but you're definitely right. We need to be able to give it a combined score of something that we can act on. As an example, engagement score is maybe only 60% of that model. The fit is maybe 20% of that model, and the company fit, meaning the ideal customer profile, is maybe 10, etc., etc. So yes, you can set up via the normal calculated properties. You can set up a score, and I think I have an example.
Yes, we have a use case example we're going to showcase.
Yeah. One of the things we kind of blamed the old lead score property of was the missing visualization of what we were doing. It kind of gave me a number, and hey, it was hidden in a property somewhere. There, the new model has luckily also improved a lot, meaning we can now get a full visualization of the lead scores happening inside the black box, or whatever you should call it. Here you see an example of a contact card inside HubSpot, and now I can select to have lead scores on the right side here. So this is just a scale of that. So now I get all the lead scores I have running inside my portal showing directly on the card. And I think this is really, really crucial for daily work and daily interaction between, for instance, marketing and sales, that we have some clear ideas what is happening. So if I in sales wonder why that engagement score is 50 after talking to people, we have something to talk about, and not only why is this a bit strange or why this is very, very good. So I think this is a fantastic addition. You basically go into the CRM card and select lead score as a part of your right panel over here. You also, as you can see score history. So now we can also look, this one is a bit boring, but you would see for a lot of records, this bouncing up and down during the days, during the weeks, during the month. And you will also here get the reasons for that happening. So it's also a very good feedback mechanism we have to evaluate our scoring during that period. I think that is everything that is in the new lead scoring app at this very moment. A lot of things are still happening in the background, but I think just this is a fantastic new tool that I really would recommend that you look into.
Yeah. Let's move a bit on to some different use cases. So as said before, you will be able to build across different objects. So we can build a score through, as Lars said, a calculated property based on both the content engagement score, contact fit score, company engagement score, and company fit score. And of course, you can have even more use cases than that. You can set a score limit on either of these scoring properties. You can add your different event groups. And then you can, of course, set, again, an event group limit score, and you will also be able to set a decay on the engagement score. You cannot set a decay on fit score, which also makes sense at the moment. But then, of course, you can build all these different scoring properties up. As Lars said, you can do 5 in Pro and up to 50 in Enterprise. And if we move a bit more along, you will see just an example of how it could actually look like. So, and in content engagement score, you can, of course, based on inbound calls, outbound calls, CTAs they have engaged with. It could be documents they have engagement. It could be ads. Contact fit score could be based on the country they're located in, their persona, their job title, maybe also their department, or whatever information you have stored in the CRM that is important for your ICP. The same goes for the company engagement score. Again, you can also do it based on call CTAs and so forth. And the same goes for the company fit score, but there you can also look into headcounts, headquarters. It could be industry, it could be revenue. And what is kind of, I think, important here is that if you have a CRM setup where you're utilizing a third-party data, it could, of course, just be out of the box now in HubSpot if you have that. But you can also, if you're in the Nordics, use something like Vainu and integrate that directly into HubSpot. Then you can also score based on the third-party data here. So you can actually score based on revenue that, information that you get into HubSpot. And again, if you have integrated with your software platform, you can also score on software engagements, and you can actually build a full scoring that is just called, platform engagement, for example, which is very, very cool to have as part of your overall lead scoring setup.
Yeah, I fully agree. And one thing that is good to when you see this visual is that it's very comparable also to the spreadsheet we originally started with. So it's also to say it reflects that quite well, but it also is kind of good thing to keep that record of what is happening there, because you won't get that record within HubSpot, of course.
No, you need to make some informed decisions before starting to build out your scoring, of course, but it also takes some trial and error usually. But I think the new setup is way more easier to make adjustments with. Also, if you need to, play around with decaying points, thresholds, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So if we move a bit along just for some example use cases, we will just run through those. And then after that, Lars will run you through a specific case we actually built, which is, I think, is kind of interesting because it's not the first thing you will think about when utilizing scoring in HubSpot. So we actually built a scoring mechanism to dictate spam, which is kind of interesting being a software as a service if you have a lot of free email domains running through your platforms as well. But if we start with the reference cases here, what we have played around with in Helion with the beta setup has been utilizing scoring for nurturing, advertising audiences, so feeding advertising audiences directly to your paid platforms such as LinkedIn and Google and Meta, and of course also lead handover. So if we start with the nurturing, you can basically build it out based on engagement. So is it high engagement, medium engagement, of course, and low engagement? And then of course, is it a great fit? So does it match the criteria of your ICP? Then you can do a specific email nurture. And what we have played around with here is working more with the sales sequences if we have high engagement and great fit. And the same goes for maybe a more questionable fit, but it's still high engagement. We still want to see, is there any sales opportunities here? And if it's a bad fit, we can send them to a more top funnel lead nurture flow. It could be a generic flow. It could be a brand focused nurturing flow. The same goes for advertising audiences. So again, we have built it out on high engagement, medium engagement, low engagement, and of course also our great fit. So what you could do here is that if you have a great fit for ICP, you have high engagement, you can start building out specific advertising audiences that you want to target more bottom funnel. So you want to send them, showcase them your book demo or book meeting videos you might have running or other cool bottom funnel advertising. And the same goes for if it's medium engagement but still a great fit, then you can of course do it on case studies, stuff like that. And then again, is also a very great way to actually figure out the questionable fits. Are they good? Are they not good? Which also can give you some information on if you need to do some adjustments to your lead scoring. And then last of all, we have also played around with, of course, lead handover. So we have had a lot of discussions internally. Are we even able to do lead handover based on lead scoring? And I would say not really if you were using the old HubSpot score, because it was not that granular. So in the cases with the customers we had that were utilizing it, we were building custom solutions with several scorings and calculated properties to do some informed lead scoring. But what you can do now, we would say, or at least start to play around with, is if you have high engagement and great fit, we should be able to pass it on to sales and actually make them auto accept it, meaning it can score directly as a sales qualified lead. If it's a questionable fit, they still have high engagement, we can send it to pre-sales or sales, depending on how your sales organization is built for qualification. But also if they're bad fits, we can remove them directly from the funnel and disqualify them, which I think is also a very great tool for utilizing scoring here. And then of course, the same goes for medium engagement and low engagement. We can send them to prospecting, or we can send them to a watch list, or if they have time on their hands in the BDR team, then they can start do some cold calling. It's not 100% cold calling, but at least more cold calling than the high engagement or medium engagement ones. So these are just some of the use cases where you can really utilize the new scoring, and which is very beneficial. And also you can do the different use cases together as well. So you don't only have to go for the lead handover. You can also combine lead handover with nurturing, which we will always recommend to think if they are not ready to buy or ready to engage with us from a sales perspective, we should always make sure that they will get some sort of other offer, even though they are being handed back to marketing. So always making sure that they don't fall between the chairs. If we have actually, spent money on buying these conversions on our advertising platforms. And then, of course, as I said before, you can score based on multiple objects. So we already been a bit through this, but now you can actually combine all of these different objects and all of these different parameters. But you can also DK and make sure that unsubscribe emails and all of this falls out of the funnel if you don't want to enable it in your funnel anymore. So I think, again, very beneficial in the new setup.
Yeah. So, well, just to add, here you have 3 different scenarios on how you can use a new lead scoring app, and we try to make it kind of detailed so you have a good starting approach if you want to build on this yourself. And this is, as Lotte says, then some good examples of CRM properties, CRM values that are useful in that situation.
Yeah. And then back to the specific use case that we actually built with the new setup. So Lars will go through it.
Yeah, I will be happy to, because I think this is crucial for presenting the lead scoring model, that it can be used for a lot of other scenarios than what we normally would do, and that's because of the naming, of course, a lead scoring app. You can use the lead scoring app for a lot of other stuff, especially again on the enterprise license, where you have up to 50 lead scoring models you can utilize. And as Lotte said, we had a few customers that were kind of challenged with a lot of spam on the form submissions. Could be on the ad side, could be on the website, both cases. So what we would recommend in those situations before actually setting up a score is try to do this case description. Doesn't necessarily have to be big, but try to describe the situation. And in this situation, it was spam submissions on online forms, both and ads on the website as said, and we tried to describe a route on how we would build this spam score using different utilities, both within HubSpot and outside HubSpot. The outside tool was, in this case, the tool called Kickbox. Some of you probably know it. It's one of the quite few services that can evaluate an email. Is it good or bad? And a lot of things in between. We'll come back to that as well. So first set that up. When you have done that, we try to do the following model. First of all, we look back into sales, having lists of valid leads, meaning leads that were approved and were actually on active deals. So we also knew the email was good. We also had a big list on emails that was marked by sales as spam. So we kind of had now 2 lists we could start to compare. We then did a validation of those email addresses outside the platform. A lot of it was actually AI analysis of those, try to find traits on this based on running them all through Kickbox. Kickbox is giving you a lot of different values on the email quality, how is the email server set up, and you get a lot of different numbers based on that, but I'll show you that in a few minutes. Then we evaluate that. We try to identify patterns, both in pivot tables in Excel and as said on AI, and then we build up the lead score on that. And the funny thing is, it was very, very effective from start doing that initial work. So we could build the lead score. You see some of it over here on the right, that we basically looked at those numbers and started scoring on the higher score, the better email quality, because the systems can't say 0 and 100. There will be a lot of emails in between that are scored like maybe it's spam, maybe it's a contact. But by doing this, And then coming back to the question on combining scores, we made a calculated property. And hey, this may look complicated, I know, and don't try to copy it because those numbers will not be good in your situation. This is very, very specific for specific companies on what their experience are and how they are attacked by spam. But just to show you an example how you can use a calculated property to combine different scoring parameters. Not going into details, just to show that that's definitely possible to go that route. That also meant that when we have set this up, we could now start again to visualize things. So a lot of things are happening in the background. We are sending the email address to Kickbox via API on a webhook inside Operations Hub in HubSpot, and then getting the data back. And this is basically the data we get back. So Kickbox gives us a score. They tell if it's a risky email, that's their point. What is the chance of good deliverability? Is it a free email account or not? A lot of stuff. And these were the parameters we put together in a model and built the lead score around. And then we ended up with this, as you can see on the right. Is this a likely spam, or is it a likely contact, or is it very likely spam, etc.? You can group it in different ways. And as you can see, we now start to get this initial reporting in HubSpot on them. But now we can work with it on workflows. We can remove them automatically depending on the situations, and really ensure that the quality we're sending to sales is better than we could probably do manually.
Yeah, and we can again utilize it for advertising audiences. So we can, of course, also negative the spam emails, so we don't pay for those views. That's one thing, especially if you have a broad audience in a lot of different countries. But you can also utilize this in your reporting, so it doesn't mess up the lead quality too much, or at least also your different KPI numbers. So that's also another way to utilize it in reporting as well.
Exactly. So I hope that gives you some impression on the different ways you could implement the lead score app. This is just an example now. Because we have it, we can start doing specific reporting on that specific situation.
Yeah, and also because we have seen it as an issue for a handful of our software as a service companies, especially if they're targeting a bit broader audience in a lot of different countries. We want to make sure that we are not, taking in the spam leads as well.
Exactly.
So just to wrap up everything we have been running through the past almost 45 minutes. So what should you do from here? So what we recommend you to look into is, of course, if you have the old lead scoring in HubSpot, we will recommend you to convert your old scores. We will, of course, also recommend you to separate your engagement and your fit. So you separate what is like engagement from a contact and company perspective, what is a fit in terms of our ICP, again, on contact or company, or maybe just one of those, if that's enough for your business model. Then we recommend you to build a multi-score model utilizing these different scoring properties. Again, it can be done in a calculated property. We have one client which have chosen to weigh the fit 70% and the engagement 30, or the other way around, depending on, again, how much or how granular your ICP is, and how much you can detect that in your CRM data. Then we also recommend you to set up the CRM card, so you will have all the scoring information directly into HubSpot. You can see the historic scoring, how it's decaying over time or increasing over time, or if we are resetting it to 0, how we are gaining the points all over again. Then if you are an enterprise, we of course also recommend you to play a bit around with Breeze AI to see, have you missed some things in your scoring that would be very beneficial, or can the AI crunching all your data in HubSpot give you some very great inputs on what you need to add to your scoring properties? And then, of course, we always recommend to plan quarterly reviews. A lot of things happens, and you might, as Lars said, start seeing a lot of spam coming in. So you might need to build even more on top of what you're already doing, but also just to have reviews on, do we need to remove stuff from our groups? Do we need to set up more DK? Do we need to start testing specific score properties only on specific groups, contact groups? So as I said before, do we want to build out a score just to detect our customers? And that was it from us today. And we just nailed it on point of 45 minutes. So I hope this was very beneficial for you guys also with the demo. We will collect the recording and all the slides, and we will send it to you afterwards.
Exactly.
Have a nice day.
Have a great day, everybody.